Ọmọ Ìbàràpá lápapọ̀ ẹ jẹ́ a dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Akin ọmọ Yorùbá lápapọ̀ tìlé tó kó ẹ̀mí àbọ̀ ẹ bá ń kọ́mọ Adéyẹmọ. Chief Sunday Adéyẹmọ Ìgbòho orúkọ ńlá tí ń jámọ̀ láyà bí àrá orúkọ tó ń dẹ́rù bo lórúkọ gan-an. Ọmọ Yorùbá ẹ má sùn o torí pé bùrà a kò lè fojú kégbodò láyé títa ríro lẹ̀dá ń kọlà wúrà tó máa dán alànà kọjá dandan o. Ọ̀wọ́n irin ní má bẹ̀rẹ̀ wọ̀nà ẹ̀dá kan ò lè ṣì wá lọ́nà mọ́ ẹ jẹ́ àfìmọ̀ṣọ̀ kan ká lè débi re ẹ jẹ́ àjọ gbárùkù ti Sunday Ìgbòho ṣá ọmọ Ìgbòho mọ̀rẹ́ nílùú Alágbàdo Òde ọmọ atapẹ̀tẹ̀ wọnú omi ọmọ gèdèlè wodò sànyà ìsànyà ò rẹ́ràn bàbá yín láàrin ìdí omi kò sì náà ń kán sí yín lẹ́nu ọmọ òkúta mẹ́ta òkè Ìgbòho ìkan ń ṣe yín ní dábọ̀dàbọ̀ ìkan ní mọ́ rọra ìkan tó kù nígbà tí wọ́n ò mọ̀ Ìgbòho mọ̀rẹ́ kí ló dé Ìgbòho mọ̀rẹ́ sí ọmọ òpópó sanran ìgbàgede Ìgbòho sùn wọn láláìsí bẹ̀rẹ̀ wọn ní kó ní bẹ̀rẹ̀ ó máa kó bẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ ẹ̀sìn òní bímọ méjì ní Ìgbòho mọ̀rẹ́ bẹ́sìn bá bímọ méjì ní Ìgbòho àfikàn pọpọ sí amúkan yòókù bọ sànyà àtúmúyà rẹ̀ tí ò lọ́rọ̀ gbọ́ àfiṣẹrù wálé wàrà mòjé ọmọ onílé ọlà àwọn àjòjì tó ń ṣe ségesège tọ́láwọn ò ní bomi kó sí mu wọ́n láwọn ò ní bomi sànyà wẹ́sẹ̀ ìgbà tójú kò fi rí ńkọ́ gbogbo wọn náà sáré bomi kó sí mu wọ́n sì bomi sànyà wẹ́sẹ̀ ọmọ abẹ́rẹ́ mẹ́ta òde ayé ọ̀kan ṣẹ́ ọ̀kan tẹ̀ ọ̀kan tó kù ní gbogbo ayé tí ránṣọ kiri gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá Sunday Ìgbòho onírèlẹ̀ láéláé torí àbá lásán nìkan ń dá òkúta ò ṣe gbé fún wọn o ìmọ̀ràn lásán ni ti balùwẹ̀ kò pọ́sibú kó dòdò láyé ń bí ó kún díẹ̀ títọ́ domi láéláyé ìtọ́ mi lè domi. Sunday Ìgbòho arógun má ti dí tó ń jà fẹ́tọ̀ Yorùbá ní tilé tó kó.
Impediment to Yoruba development is the impediment to Oodua development. Without Nigeria, we won't be where we are. 1962, we were far ahead of South Korea and North Korea. We were far ahead of China even. We had television before France. We had radio before South Africa. Now look at where we are today. I think it's a shame that even any Yoruba man can be talking about restructuring at this point in time. What are we restructuring? This country that is already shot to pieces? I don't think that's what we want. But they are always talking about giving Nigeria a chance. The patience of Yoruba with Nigeria has come to an end.
If you don't allow we Biafrans to go, that zoological republic called Nigeria will be a worse place than Somalia. And today it is happening. And if you have not applied for your Somalian visa, please try and do so. Should I say Somali visa? Try and do so as quickly as possible because the zoo is on the path of destruction. And there is nothing man can do to reverse it. Mark today's date and what I'm telling you. Nigeria will be destroyed beyond human comprehension.
Hello.
And Mrs. Carol Smith, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
May I say how delighted we are to be on Passion. We've looked forward to speaking to an African television station for decades. This is something we have looked forward to for such a long time, and we are so happy to be here.
Thank you. Mr. Aaron Smith was a young, bright, and principled Oxford University graduate who was recruited by the Colonial office and posted to Nigeria. He took his final examination a year ahead of his class. He also married Mrs. Carol Smith, whom he met while they were both at Oxford University. Together they went to Nigeria, where they had their 2 children. Mr. Aaron Smith, you were featured in a program recently by BBC Radio 4,
Yes.
titled Document,
Yes.
and that was hosted by Mr. Mike Thompson.
Yes.
You are alleged that the British government rigged the first and most important election in the history of Nigeria in 1959 in favor of the North. Am I correct?
Yes.
How long were you in Nigeria for?
From 1955 to 1960. And we were based in Lagos. I was on the staff of the Department of Labour. I was largely occupied with employment problems, all the employment exchanges, and statistics, and international reports, and was kept pretty busy. I was also stationed in Lagos in charge of the capital and the port. I was the port labour officer as well. And I also devised a port labour scheme and later a social security scheme, which was one of the first in Africa, which guaranteed workers some income after they'd finished work. It was a providence scheme. As I say, it was called the National Providence Scheme, and I was very proud to have put that on the statute book.
I was going to ask you what your role is. You've mentioned three important. Is there any particular name given to your office while you were there?
Just labour officer.
I was a labour officer, a senior civil servant.
Okay.
I only intended to stay in Lagos initially for 2 tours of duty. Although, because of this conflict with the elections, there were difficulties. Actually, government wouldn't let me leave the civil service. They were determined that I should stay in the civil service after my 2 tours. And I was offered
Which is it for you, Dr. Obadiah? Do you think the government is unwilling or unable to protect the people of Southern Kaduna?
In fact, it is not only unable, it is unwilling, and we have good reason to feel that they are part and parcel of the killers. Let me make some revelations to you.
That's a very big allegation, Dr. Obadiah. The government is part and parcel of the killers.
Yes.
That's big.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, how would the government just say, oh, it is revenge killing and so on? Then you leave it there. Oh, because it is revenge killing and so on and so forth. The body language of this administration, the body language of the state government shows clearly that they have a hand in the killings. No doubt about it. Because, you see, General Abacha, and people don't give him his due. Do you think you would have tolerated such nonsense? And let me make some revelations, because some of us also have our own intelligence networks.
Okay.
Have met with some of the bandits. We have met with some of their high commanders. 1 or 2 who have repented. They have sat down with us, not once, not twice. They told us that one of the northern governors is the commander of Boko Haram in Nigeria. Boko Haram and the bandits are one and the same thing. They have a sophisticated network. During this lockdown, their planes were moving up and down as though there was no lockdown. Moving ammunitions, moving logistics, moving money, and distributing them in different parts of the country. They're already in the south, in the rainforest of the south. They're everywhere. They told us that when they finish these rural killings, they will move to phase 2. The phase 2 is they will go into the urban cities, going from house to house, killing prominent people. I can tell you, this is the game plan. By 2022, they want to start a civil war in Nigeria.
Every one of us must rise up. The armed forces are not neutral. They collude. They collude. They collude with the armed bandits. They kill people, kill Nigerians. They facilitate their movements. They cover them. If you are depending on the armed forces to stop the killings, you will all die one by one.
Taxation. Again. No going back. Igboho Òòṣà, iṣẹ́ rẹ̀ ń tẹ̀síwájú. Mr. Koiki ẹ ṣé o, àwọn ọmọ mi ló ń kí yín o. Àwọn ọmọ mi ló ń kí yín o. Lágbára Ọlọ́run, a máa délẹ̀ lérí o lórúkọ Jésù. Yoruba Nation.
Well, and welcome back again to the late night conversation. Mo kí gbogbo alẹ́ nǹkan sí níbi tí ẹ ti ń gbọ́ wa tí ẹ ti ń wò wá. Níbi tí a ti ń mú ètò wá fún yín, níbi tí ẹ̀yin wà, níbi táwa wà. Mo kí gbogbo alẹ́ nǹkan sí pé a kúrọ̀lẹ́ ní aago mẹ́wàá. Depending on the network you're watching, the BBC 10 o'clock news is going on. The Channels news is going on, and likewise the koikimedia is live as well. Good evening to those of you on our TikTok. Also our network on the Instagram. We're live as well on the Twitter. We're live on the backup YouTube. We might bring that down probably in the next 5 minutes. It's just to keep it going. Koikimedia. Because there's a lot of strain on the network, as I can see that already. It might be going in and out because it's not giving me the full green. Mo kí gbogbo ẹ̀yin tí ẹ ti darapọ̀ mọ́ wa lórí Koikimedia, mo kí ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà lórí MixLR, mo dẹ̀ kí gbogbo àwọn èèyàn wa. Mo kí Ọba Elédùmarè tí ó ń fún wa ní àlàáfíà tí a fi ń ṣe ètò náà. Mo kí ọmọdé, mo kí àgbàlagbà, mo kí bàbá wa Professor Adébánjí Akíntóyè, bẹ́ẹ̀ là ń kí bàbá wa Chief Bánjí Ayélóge. Gbogbo ẹni tí kò bá mọ̀ pé ẹgbẹ́ kan wà tó ń pè ní ẹgbẹ́ tó kó gbogbo ẹgbẹ́ jọ, a dúpẹ́ fún àwọn tí wọ́n gbìyànjú pé kí irú organization náà kó wá níbi tí a ti ń ṣètò Yorùbá Nation. Ẹgbẹ́ náà ló ń pè ní the YSDM. Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ yín tí ẹ bá mọ̀ bí tí YSDM wà, bí ẹ bá ti lọ sórí www.ysdm.org, níbẹ̀ ẹ rí gbogbo information tí ẹ bá ti register ìyẹn ẹgbẹ́ tẹ́ bá ní. Bó bá jẹ́ orí WhatsApp group nìkan lẹ ti ń operate, a rọ̀ yín pé kí ẹ lọ darapọ̀ mọ́ ìyẹn YSDM, nítorí pé it is the only organization that is pulled together about 72 different groups tó fi di odindi. Mo kí gbogbo àwọn tó wà lábẹ́ ètò Global Directorate, bẹ́ẹ̀ ni mo kí all other organizations that are working for the quest towards the Yoruba Nation campaign tí à ń ṣe lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́. Mo lọ bẹ́ẹ̀ mo kí Ọba Elédùmarè tí ó ní wá tó dá wa, nítorí pé gbogbo tí à ń rí tó ń lọ lọ́tùn lósì ní gbogbo Áfíríkà àtẹ̀lé táwa náà ń ṣe, it shows that we are all tired, àti wà nínú mental slavery, àti fi ìlú òyìnbó àti sọ di gold. If we don't get to UK, we don't survive. If we don't get to America, it seems that we cannot survive. And all that is a lie, because eventually everybody knows that the only option is pé kí olúkálùkù ní freedom tiẹ̀ bí Elédùmarè ṣe dá wa. When you go back to the history, that is why I showed you. Ẹ má bínú ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà lórí platform kankan, you might not be able to see the full screen, but I will do what I called analysis around the picture. Tí ẹ̀yin tí ẹ bá ń wo àwòrán tí mo fi síwájú wa nísìn, these are all the countries tí Britain colonized for more than 200 years. Nigeria got their independence in 1960. I will see if I can do justice by giving you some of the names off head. But the British Empire, for a very long time, they were dominant around the world. Láti Pakistan, they Indian, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Canada, even America got their independence from the UK, during the empire in 1776. I will see if I can go on the Google and look at the names. But looking at this map, I've always been looking for this map, but when I was doing my cleaning up of my system, this map came back again. So gbogbo àwọn pictures tẹ́ ń wò yìí, these are all the countries that the UK colonized for a very, very long time. A ṣe ń kọ́kọ́ kí àwọn èèyàn wa náà, mo kí gbogbo àwọn bàbá tó ń bẹ lábẹ́ ibi tá à ń pè ní ìlànà ọmọ Oòduà that are working round the clock láti make sure pé ìran Yorùbá bọ́ nínú wàhálà tí a wà nínú ẹ̀. A wà nínú serious wàhálà, especially with all the coup that is happening around different part of the world. We should be concerned because especially Nigeria is now the chairman of ECOWAS. Nigerian government is giving ultimatum to Niger. I've been listening to some individuals, and we don't want a situation where our Yoruba máa wá di ibi tí Ọlọ́run máa di pé a máa ní àbámọ̀. Mo kí gbogbo èèyàn wa jẹ́ ká kọ́kọ́ kí gbogbo àwọn àgbàlagbà, like I said, ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà lórí the backup YouTube, thank you so much. But migrate padà sórí koikimedia because we're going to turn down that in just about a few minutes. I will run it again, but later on, Taba Party program, this clip will be uploaded on the backup YouTube. So we appreciate those of you that have joined us on the backup. It shows that some of you are aware that we have a backup YouTube channel. Facebook is really giving us a lot of stress, but we come back to that. Mo kí gbogbo ẹ̀yin ìyá alálùbáríkà, mo kí olórí Èkó, mo kí Mrs. Janet Fashaki, ìyá Jagun, mo kí Comrade Ṣọlá kò gbọdọ̀ kú, gbogbo àwọn ẹgbẹ́ tó wà ní gbogbo different platforms, tí gbogbo yín ṣe so much work that we cannot, say more than thank you so much for working tirelessly towards this, movement. Tí a gbé dání is a movement. Some of you tí ẹ feel pé kò ní wá sí ìmúṣẹ, we are not going to be arguing with you because it's of no point arguing with you. All we can say is that America got their independence, whether by fighting, whether by diplomacy, but at some point, the US eventually got their independence out of the Great Britain that we know. Once again, if you're watching now on the backup YouTube, we advise you to now start moving into the main YouTube channel because we will shut down this so that we can have a stable network. I'm running multiple devices and sometimes there could be strain on the platform. And we have about 2 hours maximum on this program tonight, or there are about 3 hours maximum. So thank you so much. Let's now go to the channel on the other side. Mo kí gbogbo wa lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí níbi tí ẹ ti ń gbọ́ mi, tí ẹ ti ń wò wá. Mo kí gbogbo àwọn tí wọ́n ń ṣiṣẹ́ takuntakun pé kírin àjò Yoruba Nation kó tètè wá sí ìmúṣẹ. Some might say, how are we going to get this country that we are talking about? Báwo ló ṣe fẹ́ ṣẹlẹ̀? Are we going to go through the diplomatic route? Are we going to go through the push from, however you might want to say it? So I can now do a bit of adjustment. I've just disconnected one of the laptops so that we have a stable network. So now I can move things around a little bit for the benefit of those of you so that we can see. Wọ́n ní ojú ni ọ̀rọ̀ wà ní Yorùbá máa ń sọ. So now let me bring you closer to me like this so that I can ask, wọ́n ní ara ò kì í sáfárá. Àbí nǹkan tí Yorùbá máa ń sọ kọ́ ni ara ò kì í sáfárá. And now we can move these as well. We're trying our best. Hopefully, I might have to upgrade, the system in the house. But for now, we manage whatever we have until there's more also funding, because media needs a lot of funding, which I'm sure some of you know. Well, some of you don't even know. Thank you so much to the backup team of the koikimedia that are working tirelessly, as well to make sure that we still on every day. Well, maybe because any data, maybe because abroad, you are not interested anymore. We cannot force anybody. We don't have to force anybody to be part. But eventually, when back country now, it will be of benefit to everybody. I mean, I want to jà America magba independent. Some people didn't believe it, and some believed it. But eventually, many people are enjoying it. Mo bá Alájà wa kan sọ̀rọ̀ ní Ajah. She's not doing very well. She's a little bit sick. Wọ́n lọ sí General Hospital. Unfortunately, like we know, I'm talking about in Lagos. The general hospital seems not to be working. Private. Well, she had a little bit of money and she ended up going to the private hospital where she's currently admitted. Igboho has a lot of beautiful mothers, but as we all know, the real mother died almost a week ago. So I decided, just to leave the spirit. I do that sometimes. Some of you must have enjoyed that kind of call where I call my sorrow and I'll just call in another voice, which is Igboho's voice. And someone like, wow, Oloye, voice in like boy. So mo pe Oloye just to say hello to the, Alaja, just to lift her spirit. And we spoke, within the 3-way calls with my other, communication line with Oloye. And Oloye was able to, Oshadura fún wọn títí pé Ọlọ́run mára dá. Arákùnrin tó connect kọ́ yẹn, òun á ń bi Olóyè pé kí ló máa wá ṣẹlẹ̀ báyìí lórí ọ̀rọ̀ Yoruba Nation, which is almost the same thing tọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀ yín náà máa ń béèrè. Whether in your private, sometimes, some of you don't want to ask us, but sure. The word sure is something that our ọmọ Yorùbá kan feel pé kíní kò lè wá sí ìmúṣẹ. So, sure. So that same person was asking Oloye, and Oloye ni, it is not going back. At the end of the day, number 1, 2 years, wọ́n fún sí exile, wọ́n ti account òun. Apart from that, wọ́n tún pààyàn méjì sínú ilé òun. Bá ṣe ń sọ̀rọ̀ lẹ́ni nísìnyí, àìtí rí òkú àwọn tí wọ́n pa sínú ilé Olóyè Sunday Igboho. So when people that are now asking us that, are we sure that this movement is still ongoing? I always ask, níbo lẹ̀yin wà? Because as far as I'm concerned, I still see people that are alive talking about Yoruba Nation. Àwọn kan ní, we are not talking about Yoruba Nation anymore. Then I'm asking, so what do we talk about that is different from what we were talking about 2 years ago? The same thing, afẹ́ country wa, afẹ́ Nigeria mọ́. Different people do different analysis around it. So when people are now coming back to say, Chashi shock pé a ṣe Yoruba Nation, the question is, if we are not doing Yoruba Nation, what else are we going to be doing? Because Nigeria táwọn bàbá wa yẹn rí, even those that are, thinking that Nigeria is not, it's going to work. Some of them are now in their 80s. We're talking about people like Obasanjo. Obasanjo is probably in his 80s. We have Bode George. We have many of them like that. Most of those age bracket, they can fool themselves that Nigeria is going to work, but they cannot fool us anymore. Wọ́n lè máa fool àwọn tí wọ́n fool pé Nigeria máa ṣiṣẹ́. Obasanjo cannot tell me that Nigeria is going to work. I'll just bounce him and say, just shut up. Nigeria is going to ṣiṣẹ́. You're lying. Gowon cannot tell me that Nigeria is going to work. I'll just tell him to shut up. Babangida cannot tell me that Nigeria is going to work. I saw Gbenga Daniel, on Twitter, putting out a bill. I'll see if I can touch on that tonight. And I laughed when I read through, different states bringing out bill. And I'm thinking to myself, the only bill telling Besiwaju Senate may say is the dissolution of this country. Any other thing there is a waste of time. Because number 1, the system that has been put together in Nigeria has failed everybody. But many Nigerians are in the hope that one day things will turn around. And that is a lie. Nothing is going to turn around. It is just too late. So, mo kí gbogbo wa lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí pé ẹ káalẹ́, it's just going to be brief, as we do all the times and as we say all the time. Yoruba Nation is now asking the federal government to lift the embargo without wasting too much time on Dr. Chief Sunday Igboho. There's no reason why an embargo should still be on his name when we have many Nigerians that have committed more crime that Igboho has not even committed one. And they are moving freely in Nigeria. So why should we get to a stage that, you know, the government seems to be I don't care attitude? We know we can't do anything. We know we don't have what it takes to do. But something that is there is that the conscious mind of the people is not going to go away. That the crime committed on Dr. Igboho was not worth it, to the fact that what has he done to warrant such a push out of his own domain, out of his own territory for 2 years? For 2 years now, he has been pushed away. But it seems that everybody is just keeping quiet, as if nothing is happening. But most people know that it is wrong. Why have they pushed him out? Why have they pushed him out? What is his offense? What offense has he committed to warrant somebody like his caliber to be in exile? Àwọn kan ní ohun Ọlọ́run bẹ́ẹ̀ ni, okay. Àwọn kan ní Elédùmarè fi pamọ́ ni, understandable. Our Yoruba, we are very, very traditional. And when things happen, we can easily look back and use àwọn ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ tó ti ṣẹlẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀rì láti fi link it up. And the question tonight is, what has Igboho done to warrant the push away from his domain, his territory? Some say it is what he wants that he got. Everybody has different views. Olúkálùkù ló ní different views around it. But gbogbo map tẹ́ ń wò yìí, fẹ́yìn tẹ́ ń wò screen wa. I'm just looking at the same map, you know, looking at it from a bigger screen on my right hand side. And I'm just thinking that each of those countries, whether they are fully independent today or not, somebody somewhere stood out and made the difference. Èèyàn kan dìde láàrin gbogbo ìlú tẹ́ ń wò yìí, gbogbo ìlú, mo kẹ́ ìmọ́lẹ̀ Yorùbá, gbogbo ìlú tá à ń wò níwájú wa yìí, ẹ má bínú ẹ tẹ́ wà lórí TikTok, ẹ rí ní tí mo fi ń wọ̀n yẹn. Hopefully there will be another screen that I will have at my back, you know, that you guys will be able to see what I'm saying. When I look at each of these countries, I will see if I can find, let's see if we can pull out all the countries colonized by Britain. All countries colonized by Britain. So let's see if we can give you some kind of background And this is coming from Wikipedia. So we go one at a time. Somebody stood out against the oppression. Somebody made a huge difference in each of the year. I'm trying to see which one is the lowest among the years there. We have 1942 and then 1947. So we probably go back to 1776. So America ló fẹ́ lè jẹ́ ìlú tó kọ́kọ́ gba ara wọn kúrò lọ́wọ́ Britain ní 1776. Okay. So looking at this, America ló kọ́kọ́ gba ara wọn sílẹ̀ ní 1776. Then we can start coming to 1947. I don't know whether that's Australia. The Australia near the Canada. Then there's another one in 1942. There's another one in 1948. What I put map Israel here, if I'm right. There is then we started having 1950. So nobody got independent from Britain in there's 1950. 1957, Ghana got independent in 1957. 1956, wow. Then it goes on like that. There's another 19. So when we now come to 21st century, and people are like, some people stood their ground with the British Empire and said, enough is enough. It's either we are free or we'll make life unbearable for you all. Mo kí gbogbo ẹ̀yin ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n tẹ́tí darapọ̀ mọ́ wa látòrí ìyá wa Sarah Oyèlọ́wọ̀, Akeem Ayọ̀délé, Prince Shitu, Afa Fọlọ́runṣọ́ Ìyàndá, mo kí Adébáyọ̀ Òkìkíọlá Emmanuel, Royal Anonymous, ẹ máa ṣe sùúrù tá bá ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ program. Sometimes we have not kickstart, so the sound might be a little bit delayed. Abiodun Monday, mo kí Ìjáyà, mo kí Ọkọ̀yà Fọláyàn, mo kí Anjorin, mo kí àwọn ẹgbẹ́ GR1 Solution Center. And shout out to my beautiful mother and to my family as well. Looking at this map, the sound is breaking because I think we're still straying in and out with the broadcast. It's green at the moment, but only fluctuates, so bear with us. Maybe you might want to come out and come back in, but definitely the reason why it's breaking is because there's a bit of strain on the network. So we've taken down few broadcasts, but again, as usual, you know how these things work with the network. I might end up having to increase my internet bandwidth. The only thing is it's going to cost extra money. So, but we'll see. I'll look into that, where we might increase our internet bandwidth. At the moment, I have a very good internet bandwidth, but I'll speak to them if I can increase it. And whatever the cost is, then we will let everybody know so that we can also continue to chip in. I've taken down the Twitter, Sanjo Beauty Air Muki. So let's hope we have a bit of more stability. So we only have few system running at the moment. So let's see how it goes. We are just 39 minutes into the program. Mo fẹ́ kẹ́ máa wo map tó wà níwájú yín. In tí Igboho ń ṣe lénìí, tí àwa kan appreciate àti bàbá wa Banji Ayilóge àti àwọn bàbá wa Oracle Stephen Adébánjí Akíntóyè àti gbogbo àwọn bàbá tó ń bẹ lábẹ́ wọn ní gbogbo ibi tí olúkálùkù wọn ti ń ṣètò. Mo kí ìlànà US Charter and the Canada and the rest as well. But let us remind ourselves that if somebody doesn't stand up and demand that we go, we will all think that Nigeria is still going to favor us. Let me give you some of the names of these countries quickly. Quickly, according to what I have. List of countries that have gained independence from the United Kingdom. Below at the list, so I'm going to be showing you the image. So ìlú tẹ́yìn náà bá dámọ̀ láàrin àwọn orúkọ tí bá ń dá yẹn, ẹ máa fi wo máàpù yẹn níwájú yìí. Below are the list of the countries and territories formerly ruled or administered by the United Kingdom or part of the British Empire. The British Empire was a very, very strong empire. Very strong empire. And when we talk about the British Empire, maybe we should talk about that before the list. Some of you don't know that the British Empire is still working indirectly as of today. So let's go into the history of the British Empire. Now they call them the United Kingdom. But níjọ́ náà long, they were known as the British Empire. So gbogbo empire àwọn lè ń rí nínú screen yẹn. These were all the British. This is why they were calling them the empire, because they had many countries underneath there. And the Yoruba territory, the Benin territory, the Hausa territory, or the Hausa kingdom, the Oyo Empire, gbogbo wa la ti gbọ́ ìtàn Oyo Empire. All these were independent of their own until the British Empire forced themselves into that territory. And apart from the fact that we accepted them, we accommodate them, but in tó fi san ẹ̀san fún wa òun là ń jẹ èrè ẹ̀ lénìí. Nítorí pé when they came down to our own territory, we took them as friends. We took them as àwọn tí a nífẹ̀ẹ́. Báwa ṣe wá nífẹ̀ẹ́ wọn tó, a gbé oríṣiríṣi àṣírí lé wọn lọ́wọ́. Àwọn bàbá wa níjọ́ náà náà wọ́n rò pé àwọn ọ̀rẹ́ gidi ló dé. Wọ́n rò pé àwọn tí wọ́n lè jọ ṣe òwò papọ̀, wọ́n lè jọ ṣiṣẹ́ papọ̀. So ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ nǹkan wọ́n reveal ẹ̀ fáwọn aláwọ̀ funfun yìí nígbà tó dé. But agenda táwọn ní ó yàtọ̀ sí agenda tiwa. So let's go and read about the British Empire a little bit, according to the Wikipedia. The British Empire was composed of the dominions, colonies, protectorate, mandate, and territories. So tẹ́ bá ń gbọ́ gbogbo àwọn word yẹn, tẹ́ ń gbọ́ dominion. What does it mean? A dominion was any of the several self-governing nations of the British Empire. With the evolution of the British Empire into Commonwealth of Nations, the dominions became independent states. Ẹ ti máa gbọ́ Commonwealth. Nigeria is part of the Commonwealth. Let's go to colonies. A crown colony or a royal colony was a colony administered by the crown within the British Empire. There was usually a governor appointed by the British monarch on the advice of the UK government, with or without the assistance of a local council. In some cases, these councils were split into two. So tá bá ń sọ̀rọ̀ nípa Lugard. Lugard was an British administrator put in charge of that part of the colony of the British Empire. But in tí Lugard padà wá ṣe ni tá ń pè ní protectorate. You've heard about the Southern Protectorate and the Northern Protectorate. Kí ló mean? We were separate entity. Ilẹ̀ Haúsá yàtọ̀ tẹ́lẹ̀, ilẹ̀ Yorùbá yàtọ̀, ilẹ̀ Igbo yàtọ̀. Ilẹ̀ yẹn ó ti wà káwọn òyìnbó aláwọ̀ funfun tó dé. ó ti ń bẹ kó tó wá bá wa, a ti ń bẹ for more than 500 years nígbà táwọn Portuguese ń ṣe nǹkan pè ní expedition. As at 1500, a wà ní 21st century nísìn. As at 1500, nígbà tí ẹni tó ń káàkiri tó máa fi dé territory wa, àwa ti exist 500 years before that. But kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀ láàrin 500 years or 15th century, 16th century, 17th century, 17th century l'Amẹ́ríkà gbara wọn kúrò lọ́wọ́ empire tó ń pè ní British Empire. Àwọn ò gbara wa sílẹ̀ until 19th century, which is after the amalgamation of Nigeria. Amalgamation led to the independence in 1960, which is what we are now saying Nigeria is independent. But kò sí nǹkan kan tó ń jẹ́ Nigeria prior to that independence or prior before the 1914. So tẹ́ bá ń gbọ́ protectorate, there was what they called the Northern Protectorate, the Northern Nigerian Protectorate. So when you hear the Northern Nigerian Protectorate, what does it mean? The Northern Nigeria, which is called the Hausa, was a British protectorate which lasted from 1900. Ẹ farabalẹ̀ kẹ́ gbọ́ bíbá. Fẹ́yìntẹ́ máa ń sọ pé a gbọ́dọ̀ wà láàrin ara wa. The British controlled that protectorate nílẹ̀ Hausa independently away from ilẹ̀ Yorùbá àti ilẹ̀ Igbo láti 1900 títí dé 1914. So kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀ ní 1914? Òun ni ó lead to the amalgamation of Nigeria. So for 660,000 square kilometers, about 250 square miles, was the Northern Protectorate called the Sokoto Caliphate and part of the former Borno Empire that was conquered in 1902. The first British High Commissioner of the Protectorate ní ìgbà yẹn was Frederick Lugard, who suppressed slavery and tribal riding and created a system of administration built around the native authorities. The Protectorate led to what we are calling Nigeria today, because that Protectorate stopped. Mokin Alaja Ìrọ̀rùn ló bá dé. Gbogbo tí a máa ń sọ pé Protectorate, the British knew what they were doing, because wọ́n mọ̀ pé ẹ̀yà tí wọ́n fẹ́ kó papọ̀ yìí, wọ́n kì í ṣe elédè kan náà, wọ́n kì í ṣe kankan náà, but they care less for their own selfish gain, for their own selfish interest. So táwa kan bá wá tí wọ́n enjoy that part of the British system missing, we should remember that we have 30 million Yoruba people inside the territory tó kó papọ̀ tó ń pè ní Nigeria lẹ́nìí that do not have access to such. One of that is the Mọ́mí wa tí mo ní mo pè ní Àjà that cannot get access to a medical facility in Lagos State in the General Hospital because it was not available. So when we talk about the British Empire, which is the screen tẹ́ ẹ̀ rí níwájú yín ìfẹ́yìn tẹ́ bá wà lórí YouTube and the Facebook, you will see that this map to dot around is called the British Empire. But in tó ṣe fáwọn ní ìkà yẹn ni pé wọ́n kó the Northern Protectorate nítorí pé the Northern Protectorate was not making money fún àwọn òyìnbó níjọ́ náà náà, and they actually ended that Northern Protectorate and then merged it with the Southern Nigeria Protectorate tó dá dúró on its own, because the Southern Nigeria Protectorate was standing on its own, and even the Lagos colony was also standing on its own. But all this changed right inside our eyes. Gbogbo kini ended on the 1st of January 1914. So gbogbo pé à ń pera wa ní Nàìjíríà lénìí, it was a deliberate act to stop what was being run, because 1900 to 1914, that's about 14 years, the British Empire, British Protectorate, ló fi ń control ibi tá à ń pè ní ilẹ̀ Haúsá níjọ́ náà lọ́hùn, tá à ń pè ní Sokoto Caliphate. But kí ló wá dé, kí ló lè fà á tí ẹ wá kó gbogbo wa papọ̀ ní 1914 is part of the empire. So tẹ́ bá ti ń gbọ́ protectorate ni mo ṣàlàyé fún yín yẹn. So again, in the context, protectorate in the context of international relation is a state that is under the protection by another state. So protectorate was Caliphate of Sokoto, but àwọn lẹ́nu British Empire ló ń dominate wọn, just as they were dominating the Southern Protectorate and the Lagos colony. Tó fi di pé ìjà oríṣiríṣi ṣẹlẹ̀, gbogbo wa la ti gbọ́ ìtàn yẹn, ẹ sanwó orí, àsanwó orí. Kódà nílẹ̀ Ìgbò náà, àwọn náà jàjà yẹn pé àsan tax. Because gbogbo tax tó ń san níjọ́ náà lọ́hùn, ìlú ìlọ́n kó padà wá sí. Gbogbo owó tí wọ́n pa ní gbogbo àwọn protectorate yẹn tó bá ti gba gbogbo owó yẹn jọ, wọ́n máa rú bọ̀ wá sí bíbáyìí. Àwọn fi ń ṣe kí ni, wọ́n fi ń develop bíbáyìí níjọ́ náà lọ́hùn. So táwa kan bá wá ń sọ pé wọ́n ti develop bíbáyìí, wọ́n develop ẹ̀, ó favour àwa. Ká máa rántí pé owó orí ilẹ̀ bàbá wa ló kó wá sí bíbáyìí ló fi develop it. And this is why some of us are saying, should we now say because our kan ní access to this protectorate tá wà lábẹ́ nísìn, while millions of people do not have the same access, should we condemn the British for what they've done, or should we still hold our politicians that refuse to go back to where we were before because àwọn náà tí wọ́n ń gbádùn nínú that contraction that was created and left to us as independent, that did not started without even a hiccup, because the first ever election to conduct in Nigeria was rigged by the British government in 1959. So when people are saying that the election is rigged today, ọwọ́ Britain ni wọ́n ti kọ́ ìwà yẹn. So tẹ́ bá ń sọ pé wọ́n rig election wà rigged, ọwọ́ wọn ló ti ń kọ́. So the protectorate in the context of the international relation is a state that is under the protection by another state for defense against aggression and other violations of the law. It is a dependent territory that enjoys autonomy over most of its internal affairs, while still recognizing sovereignty of a more powerful sovereign. So, àwọn Hausa, the Northern Protectorate, the Southern Protectorate, were all enjoying pé ẹni tó bá fẹ́ wá invade yìí, torí pé everybody was invading each other during that era. And everybody was trying to get what they can get. So the invasion was still going on. But for the part that the British already established in our own domain, nobody was able to come there because Wamaja. So it began with the overseas possession. What I mean by possession? The English overseas possession, also known as the English Colonial Empire, comprised a variety of overseas territories that were colonized, conquered, or otherwise acquired by the former Kingdom of England during the centuries before the Act of Union of 1707. And the trading post. A trading post or a trading station or a trading house, also known as a factory, is an establishment or settlement where goods and services could be traded. So what they did was, in our own Southern and Northern Protectorate, it was a trading post. And today, because Igbati, so what they are now doing is that they now have the British High Commissioner in Nigeria that is still doing their trading post. But the only difference now is They are saying that we are no longer in control. We have given you independence. You lot should be able to manage yourself, even though we have 351 ethnic groups. And the question is, even the Scottish does not want to live side by side with the English. That is why Tabafilo play World Cup. Scotland now alone on his own. Wales now alone on his own. And the England goes on his own. World Cup tí wọ́n gbá lọ nísìn, ẹ rí pé England àti Nigeria máa play according to what I heard for the next stage. Wọ́n ṣe kó àwọn mẹ́tẹ̀ẹ̀ta kó wá lọ represent the United Kingdom. Kó kó wọn papọ̀ sórí pitch kan. Kí Scottish wà nínú football team. Kí England wà níbẹ̀ ìyẹn English. Kára Wales just as báwa ṣe kóra wa lọ as Igbo, Yoruba and Benin tó lọ represent Nigeria. So these are the lies that have been built for a very long time, but it is difficult to convince the average Nigeria to understand this, that Nigeria, it was not even Nigeria then when they were doing all this, it was still a trading post, because it was only in 1914, January 1st, that the protectorate was now merged together, which is what we now called the 1914 amalgamation. Níbo ni wọ́n ti ignite amalgamation here? All these was put together from the parliament here in London. The protectorate was ended on the 1st of January 1914 when its area was unified. Ta ló ní kó unify? Ta ló bẹ̀ wọ́n ṣẹ́? Is because this northern protectorate was not making money. And let's go and find out the meaning of unified. So when we hear the word unified, according to the English dictionary, tá bá gbọ́ the word unified, kí ló mean? So anytime you hear unify, one more time, unify. What is the full meaning of unified? UNFIED. According to the English dictionary, brought together, combined, united. We have to be able to speak with unified voice. That is where we are having problem. In the last 63 years, Nigerians have not been able to speak with one voice because we are not one. So many Nigerians is thinking that it's got to do with a lot of leadership, but we are not unified, so we can never speak one voice together. How about sọ pé A, àwọn tó kù á sọ B, èèyàn kan á kọ Z, èèyàn kan á sọ E. So the word unify is not inclusive in Nigeria today. And that is why we are saying that we can never be unified. Kò sí bí ẹ ṣe lè wà unified. As many people think you will be unified, but you will never be unified. No matter how much you try, you will never be unified. Again, unify means that brought together. So in 1914, the protectorate was ended on the 1st of January when its areas, Tobani area, Àdúgbò, territory ilẹ̀ Hausa, territory ilẹ̀ Yoruba, territory ilẹ̀ Igbo, they merged together. It was later after the independence, your state is state in to carve. But what we had before was just one single block, Southern Protectorate, Northern Protectorate, and everybody was managing their territory. But after we got independent, the military came in, they started cabinet, and they started saying, Ondo, what you Ondo Kuro, what you this, before everything was just a single block. But something also happened. Tí wọ́n máa ń pè ní the Berlin Conference. The Berlin Conference of 1884 títí dé 1885, also known as the Congo Conference of the West Africa Conference, met on 15th of November 1884, and after an adjournment concluded on the 26th of February 1885 with the signature of the General Act. Do you know what happened? The Berlin Conference of 1884 and 1885 provided the area that would become the northern Nigeria protectorate to the British. The Royal Niger Company was formed in 1886 with a guy called George Tubman Goldie as the vice governor. the company moved inland and negotiated the trade agreement and a political agreement, sometimes connived with several local chieftains in 1897. But Frederick Lugard was appointed head of the West African Frontier Force. So when you hear the word Frontier Force, it's called the West African. The Frontier Force is known as the West African Frontier Force, WAFF, was a multi-battalion field force formed by the British Colonial Office in 1900 to garrison the West Africa colonies of Nigeria, Gold Coast, Sierra Leone, Gambia. In 1928, it received a royal recognition, becoming the Royal West African Frontier Force, which was tasked with stopping Fulani resistance and possibly French inclusion in the Northwest area. So the word Fulani erupted, or not erupted, even came out in a discussion as at 1897. Let me read that again so that Kelegbon continue on. So, according to this information is now telling us that in 1897, the 1900, we're talking about, another over 100 years before 1914. They've been talking about stopping the Fulani resistance. So when people are saying that we should stay in Nigeria, you are dealing with Fulanis that are ready to conquer you, and they will conquer you even if it's going to take them 1,000 years. They will still conquer you. So, in Tanshenipe, Amfi, Urulesun. So when people are saying, no, we're going to keep Nigeria. No, you are keeping Nigeria for the Fulanis. Because even the British talked about them in 1897, according to what I'm reading here. It's stated again, just to remind you what I said. In 1897, Frederick Lugard wọ́n kó àwọn ọlọ́pàá fún àwọn sójà tó ń pè ní West African Frontier Force. Iṣẹ́ tó gbà wọ́n fún níjọ́ náà lọ́hùn ní 1897 ni pé gbogbo Fúlàní tó bá fẹ́ invade àtàwọn French, they must stop them. On the 1st of January 1900, after tó ti káàvù ilẹ̀ Haúsá tó ń pè ní North ní Berlin Conference, Berlin Conference ló ti gbé ibẹ̀ fún British pé ẹ̀yin máa bá wa manage ibẹ̀ yẹn. But what they normally do then is that they find somebody that can manage ètò lówó lọ́wọ́. So it was everything was a trade during those era. Ta ló lówó, they trade everything out. But on the 1st of January 1900, the Royal Niger Company chapter was revoked and the British government took control. Royal Niger was a company, but their charter was revoked and the British government took control in a ceremony where Lugard read the proclamation. The Royal Niger Company was then paid £865,000 and was given the right to half of all the mining revenue in large part of the areas for 99 years in exchange for succeeding the territory to the British government. Let me explain what that means. Grammar. What they did was, because what they revoked license in Royal Niger, but not to get them angry and not to get them upset. In touch with me, wọ́n wá fún wọn ní £865,000 pé gbà má bínú àwa la fẹ́ gbalẹ̀ yìí lọ́wọ́ yín nísìn bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ṣe máa ń jálẹ̀ gbà lọ́wọ́ wọn yàn ìwọ ló máa talẹ̀ ìwọ náà ló tún máa gbé àwọn tó máa lọ disturb àwọn tó ń talẹ̀. Many of you have bought land. Àwọn ọmọ onílẹ̀ ti gbalẹ̀ mọ́ yín lọ́wọ́ and they are not even giving you anything back. But in that era, in 1900, according to ìtàn Tankai, which is documented, gbogbo archive in Tankai ó wà lọ́wọ́ British, but they're not going to let me and you see because they are concerned and they are worried. Once again, we are now exactly 1 hour into the program. My name is OLAMILEKAN. As I continue to educate my people on all the reasons, Omoka, good evening, why the British have used our territory as a trading post. Again, they revoke the license or the charter of the Royal Niger, but they paid that company 860. What alone, that is a huge amount of money. £865,000 was paid. But not only that, they were also given 99 years. But Lugard was appointed the High Commissioner of the newly created Northern Nigerian Protectorate, Lokoja as his base. Lokoja was appointed. Lokoja was the capital from 1900, but Zunguru became the headquarters of the Protectorate in 1902. Nígbà tó máa di 12 years after that, there was an amalgamation. Tó bá jẹ́ pé wọ́n amalgamate wa ni gbogbo wàhálà tá à ń rí lẹ́ni nísìn, we will not be. Tábàtẹ̀ wọ́n ń discuss nǹkan míì, kò ní jẹ́ lórí pé ẹja kúrò ní Nàìjíríà, àkúrò ní Nàìjíríà, ìyẹn la máa gbé dání. So when people are saying that ká dúró sínú Nàìjíríà, ẹ máa rántí pé even the British were concerned about the Fulani as at 1897. So Lugard used Lokoja then as his headquarters. But Zunguru became Lokoja was the capital from 1900. But nígbà tó di 2 years after that, they moved the headquarters of the Northern Protectorate from Lokoja to Zunguru in 1902 because it was the most northerly city accessible by the river transport. Anywhere tó bá ní omi, our British man like it. That is why the American embassy will be very close to the water. The British embassy will be close to the water because those are the areas where they can push anything out in case there's going to be any problem. And sometimes some of you will never know because your country doesn't have the sophistication to know that. I'm just giving you the background before we go to the countries that are colonized, where Nigeria was having its own independence in 1960. Let's go further. There was a military campaign. Military operations began in 1902 and actually continued for about 5 years of sporadical fighting. Ìjà làwọn Britain máa ń jà níjọ́ náà lọ́hùn. It was about killing. So when people are saying that, we're like, okay, we hope that we can do this diplomatically without going through that route. But what we know is that in 1902, there was a military operation began, and it continued for about 5 years of sporadical fighting. The remnant of the Borno Empire was eventually conquered in 1902, and the Sokoto Caliphate, and was defeated in the Battle of the Kano fighting that continued into 1904 in Bassa. In 1906, the Mahdist rebellion broke outside of the city of Sokoto in the village of Saturu. Elements of the Royal Western African Frontier Force in Nyanwomogun, Britain, were dispatched to suppress the rebellion. Upon hearing the news of what was being transpired, Muhammadu Atairu II dispatched a mixed force of 300 Sokoto cavalry and infantry led by Malam Isa to join them. The combined force successfully suppressed the rebellion, which marked the last major instance of the armed resistance to the British rule in the region. People were fighting back then as well, but the empire got support from some of the chieftaincies, and they were able to suppress during those periods. After 1907, there were few revolts and the use of military force by the British, and the focus of the High Commissioner turned towards taxation and administration. Because if it's about to conquer, ẹ gbọ́dọ̀ san tax, ẹ gbọ́dọ̀ san owó orí. Today, we are paying that owó orí in a different format, not as the format tó fi ń gbà lọ́wọ́ wa níjọ́ náà lọ́hùn. So when some of you are saying that we should stay in Nigeria, it's okay. But one thing you have to know is that everybody is still paying tax to the British Empire, one way or the other. In tó bá ti mú ẹ pé o kọ́kọ́ fẹ́ jáde kúrò wá sí UK, you are going to pay tax. Even if it's the airline tó bá gbé ẹ wá, o máa san tax. O máa san so many tax kó tó kúrò nínú Nigeria. The first tax tó máa kọ́kọ́ san ni pé tó bá ti bí ẹ sí bíbá, o máa sanwó visa. Visa is like a tax which you are paying. I paid mine in 1998. Some of you are even paying double of that as you're planning to study abroad. Now, let's go to the administration part of it. The British administration now began with Frederick Lugard as the first British High Commissioner. Nígbà tó di 1907, Lugard left Nigeria. Wọ́n mú lọ sí Hong Kong. Tó bá jẹ́ pé wọ́n ti wá fi sílẹ̀ lọ́hùn kò bá tẹ̀ wá dá. Wọ́n tún wá dá padà wá sí Nàìjíríà. Ìpadà ẹ̀yẹn ni kò wá dá nítorí pé òun ló wá padà wá pín Nàìjíríà. Òun ló wá padà wá kó gbogbo àpapọ̀. Okay? Nigerian Labour Congress says the protest goes on tomorrow. Good luck to them, and I hope everybody comes out and protest. That is their own cup of tea, not mine. But thank you so much for the update. Wọ́n gbé Lugard kúrò ní Northern Protectorate because as at that time kò sí nǹkan tó ń jẹ́ Nàìjíríà. Gbogbo tí mo sọ yìí ní 1907 ẹ máa rántí pé 1914. So tó bá ń sọ̀rọ̀ níjọ́ náà lọ́hùn ní ìgbà yẹn wọ́n ń sọ pé Nàìjíríà wọ́n máa ní Northern Protectorate, Southern Protectorate and the Lagos Colony. It was only after 1914 ló bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ń pè wá ní Nigeria, Niger area. Let's go further. The British administration now began with Frederick Lugard as the first High Commissioner. But nígbà tó di 1907, Lugard left Nigeria for ibi tá à ń pè ní Hong Kong, and the Percy Gore became the new High Commissioner. Percy Gore was a Canadian railway builder. Again, took over as the British High Commissioner of the Northern. Nísìnyí náà ṣe ń pè ní Nàìjíríà torí pé wọ́n ti add Nàìjíríà mọ́ tẹ́lẹ̀. Tó bá yẹ pé wọ́n add Nàìjíríà mọ́ ní 1914. In top of my son, according to this Wikipedia, is just call it Northern Protectorate. But Percy Gore was now the High Commissioner of the Northern Nigeria and the East Africa Protectorate. So òun tún represent Britain away from the West Africa, ó tún mú East Africa mú. And that was going on. Giro had a long history of rail construction in Canada and Africa and was tasked with a substantial railroad construction in Protectorate. In 1909, Henry Askell Bell, the governor of Uganda Protectorate, was appointed High Commissioner. In 1912, it was estimated that the area of the northern Nigeria was approximately long in terms of square kilometers. They have about 660,000. And when you talk about the square mile, it's about 255,000. And as at that time, they had a population of just about 10 million people. Nílẹ̀ Haúsá, níbi tó ń pè ní Northern Protectorate. Nígbà tó di Charles Lindsay Temple became the acting head commissioner in 1911 and 1912, until 2 years before the amalgamation. Until 2 years ló kù tí ọ̀rọ̀ amalgamation yẹn máa fi ṣẹlẹ̀. In 1911 and 1912, and began overseeing with a close collaboration with Lugard. Ẹ rántí pé Lugard tó ti gbé lọ sí Hong Kong ní 1907. ó ti wá ń ṣiṣẹ́ pẹ̀lú Charles Lindsay Temple, and the creation of the colony and protectorate of Nigeria took place in 1914, 2 years after that. One defined characteristics of administration in the Northern Nigerian Protectorate was the inclusion of the chiefs and the emirs as a native authorities fitting into the British administration. Taxation proved very difficult in that protectorate for the first years of the British rule. One struggle láti gba owó orí lọ́wọ́ àwọn Hausa as against àwa lọ́dọ̀ tiwa nísàlẹ̀. Lugard attempt to institute poll tax were foiled by the emirate. They needed to introduce a coin controversy and attempt to tax trade were opposed by the powerful merchant. This created a substantial deficit. Ẹ farabalẹ̀ kẹ́ gbọ́ bíbá. Níbi tí problem ti ń dé lélẹ̀, because there was now deficit. And what do you mean by the word deficit? Some of you must have heard it before. Ẹlòmíì ò mọ̀ tán pè bẹ́ẹ̀. Ẹ jẹ́ kí a jẹ́ kí Oxford Dictionary kó help wa. Tá bá sọ pé deficit. Bíyàn bá sọ fún ẹ ní ẹni tẹ́ bá ti ń bára yín sọ̀rọ̀ tó bá gbọ́ deficit. Bíyàn kan bá ní deficit. It is the amount by which something, especially a sum of money, is too small. Owó tó ń wọlé ní ọ̀dọ̀ Northern Protectorate has become deficit. But in a layman, what does deficit? A situation when a businesses or country has spent more money than it has received, or an amount of money is smaller than it should be. So these were the real reason that they thought, àwa ò lè máa lose owó, kàkàkà lose owó. Ilẹ̀ Yorùbá ní owó tó pọ̀ because àwa la ní omi, the Southern Protectorate. So what they thought then was, let's start working together and join these two protectorates together. So let me take that back again. Again, ẹ rántí pé wọ́n struggle láti gba owó orí lọ́wọ́ wọn ní ilẹ̀ Haúsá níbi tá à ń pè ní Northern Protectorate, but nísìnyí táwọn máa ń kọ́ ní sọ wọ́n kọ́ ní Northern Nigerian Protectorate, but kò sí nǹkan kan tó ń jẹ́ Nàìjíríà before that period. It is after tí wọ́n ti create Nigeria lọ́sẹ̀ ń pè ní Nigeria Northern Protectorate or Northern Nigerian Protectorate. But as we have read, there was a deficit. I've given you the definition of deficit. This created a substantial deficit in the budget of the Northern Protectorate, and the public works project had to be paid by grant from the British Empire. British ò like it. Báwo làwa ṣe tún máa send owó láti empire míì láti fi tọ́jú empire kan? Irú nonsense wo nìyẹn? Irú àdánwò wo nìyẹn? Ibi tí wàhálà ti dé nìyẹn. Ibi tí a ti kó tiwa nìyẹn pẹ̀lú àwọn ibi tó ń pè ní Northern Protectorate. Ibi tí wàhálà tó ti dé tí a fi lè tẹ̀síwájú títí di wákàtí òun lè gbọ́ yẹn. So ìwọ tó wá jókòó nísìn tó ń sọ fún wa pé ká keep Nigeria ìtorí pé o sì fẹ́ ká máa fund the same system tí Britain náà tí kò lè fund. Britain gan fúnra wọn, they couldn't fund it because they were losing money. It was becoming unbearable for them and they could not sustain it. So the only option on the table was, for the benefit of not losing money, they decided to join everybody together. So today, many Nigerians are caring less about this kind of history. All they want to talk about is, let's work together, let's unify, let's save ourselves, let us not fight each other. But what they did not understand is, it is the same problem tí Britain is happening níjọ́ náà long lẹ́yìn ní káwa keep. Even the British Empire could not sustain it. British Empire fúnra wọn àwọn gan ò lè sustain wàhálà yẹn wọ́n sá fún. wàhálà yẹn lẹ́yìn wá ní káwa gbèrú tí àwọn bàbá kan ti ń gbé bọ̀ for more than 60 years. Bàbá kan wá dìde, àwọn wá ní no, it shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't be in this direction. Fún ọmọ Yorùbá láti lè ní àṣeyọrí, we must get the hell out of this contraction called Nigeria. Let's continue. This created a substantial deficit in the budget of the protectorate, and the public workers, àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ tó ń ṣiṣẹ́ níjọ́ náà lọ́hùn fáwọn òyìnbó, wọ́n wá ń ṣe ń gba grants lọ́wọ́ of British Empire. And as a result, the British often had significant shortage of British personnel before 1907. These pragmatic concerns, farabalẹ̀ kó gbọ́ bíbá, these pragmatic concerns resulted in incorporation of the traditional authorities within the British structure. These same financial and administrative challenges, farabalẹ̀ kò gbọ́ bíbá dáadáa, mo kí ẹ ìyàwó Agbémilékè, good evening and welcome. These same financial and administrative challenges resulted in discussion led by Lugard for the unification of the Lagos colony. Thank you, Dizzy123. And began in 1914 and had two lieutenants. No, I think I've gone too far. Let's come back. These same financial administrative challenges resulted in discussions led by Lugard for the unification of the Lagos colony, the southern Nigerian protectorate, and the northern Nigeria. The disparities between the protectorate was to be corrected by creating a central administration in Lagos with custom revenues from the south paying for the project in the north. There's no way you can get any leader to manage this. And the British actually run away from the same problem that you are saying we should get a good leader. If the British were able to manage it, we should not be in this situation in the first place. The British actually ran away from the same problem. That is why they have to create what is called Nigeria today. So when you say, don't you think a good leader will be able to manage the differences and unify this region? The British could not unify it. Because if they were able to unify it, they would not have merged us together in 1914. I hope you got the message. So, Tebani, kílódé tí a ní good leader tó lè manage it. Kílódé tí British náà lè manage it. Níjọ́ náà lọ́hùn. They were the empire. They had vast amount of people. They brought in people from different parts. Remember that wọ́n mú yàn kan wá tó mọ̀ nípa railway tó ti ṣe ní Canada. So, in tó ṣe ni pé gbogbo àwọn rail gauge tẹ máa ń rí tó máa ní British rail gauge. Wọ́n kàn ṣe rail gauge from ibi tí wọ́n ti ń kó resources wá lọ sí port láti fi drive àwọn cargo yẹn. Orí cargo yẹn ìgbà yẹn ni wọ́n ń lo coal. So the British were using enough coal láti fi fund the industry tiwọn. Well, it was better under the regional government, but we are not operating regional government anymore. The regional government has been destroyed. They've removed the regional government, so that is why we are struggling, because the regional government was everybody. That was what we got for the independent. Maybe I've noted the area here. I'm still working towards that. I'm still giving you back before the 1960 independent, but when they were, I've taken you to Lancaster House. It's about an hour away from me. Ní Lancaster House, inti gbogbo wọn agree lórí round table tó mu tea níjọ́ náà lọ́hùn ní 1957-58 kó tó di pé wọ́n ní kó lọ contest fún election. Election yẹn wọ́n rí gẹ̀ fáwọn Hausa is another crime against humanity. The British knew that Yoruba people of Awolowo was going to win hands down. But what they did was they used that election to support the North. So this argument that we're going to get one leader to Mama Pixie, the British actually ran away from the same problem. Because talk about run away from it, they should have left the Northern Protectorate to continue to lose money and fund it. Kí ló dé táwọn fund it? Tó fi wá mú Lagos. Kò máa wá bí ẹ gbọ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ dáadáa, ẹ jẹ́ kí n ka bẹ́ẹ̀ again fún yín. Let me read that again so that you can get the message. So kò sí mo fẹ́ máa lo, I've stopped using that phrase. Ànílò Jésù àti Muhammad lórí platform wa láti máa fi ṣe àpèjúwe. Bọ́lọ̀ gbé Obama mẹ́wàá wá àti Bill Clinton àti David Cameron àti Tony Blair àti Boris Johnson kọ́kọ́ gbogbo wọn wá kọ́kọ́ wọn sí Nàìjíríà wọ́n lè manage it. That is a fact. So this argument tẹ́yìn tẹ́ wà létẹ́ tí really understand the kókó tí Britain fi sá fún Northern Protectorate òun lè ní sọ àṣírí ẹ̀ lè ní fún yín lálẹ́. Because tẹ́ bá ń sọ fún wa pé Nigeria máa work, the question is why did the British left the Northerners or the Northern Protectorate láti fi join ẹ̀ mọ́ ilẹ̀ Yorùbá? Because it was a separate entity until 1914. 1914 lọ́sẹ̀ kó gbogbo ẹ̀ papọ̀. So gbogbo pé ẹ̀ ń ṣe election yẹn kò lè fún yín ní result ẹ̀ ń fẹ́. Because even the first election was rigged. What we signed for nígbà tá a fẹ́ gba independent, ẹ bá lọ sórí screen mi lórí YouTube, ẹ rí big screen yẹn tí gbogbo ìlú tó jáde lára UK, I mean the empire, because they're not calling UK then, they were calling them the empire. 1960 tá a gba independent, what we got was a regional government. That was the agreement. Olúkálùkù ló manage area. Now, wọ́n bí governor yìí dá ní gbogbo state kókò lọ tọwọ́ bọ resources, because the constitution tán lò nísìn kò allow governor yín kókò lọ tọwọ́ bọ àti répo ní bíbá a máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ń lo epo yẹn kó wá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ń wọ epo yẹn kó wá náà fẹ́ tà kò possible. That is part of the fraud. But ní ìgbà yẹn àwa la ní resources a kàn san percentage sókè fún central. But nígbà tó dẹ̀ ti destroy regional government, wọ́n ní kó padà sí regional government, wọ́n refuse. But nígbà táwọn olóṣèlú dé, àwọn náà ti ń yọkùn. Ẹ lọ sórí Instagram kíni tó wà ń Kogi yẹn tó náà fi jẹ governor Dino Malaye lọ́wọ́ kan ẹ̀bí Port Belly. Ikú ẹ ti tóbi kó tó jẹ kó ṣe politician ẹ lọ wo bó ṣe rí. So when they got there, they become powerful. Lọ́wọ́ Fẹ́mi Káyọ̀dé ó lọ́mọdọ̀ tó pọ̀ ó ní mọ́tò. So they are living larger than you because that is the system that was created when they became the civilian part of the after the military ti sá lọ. So gbogbo wọn ti gbọ́ wọ́n ti wá di pé agbádá tó ń wọ̀ yẹn ikùn wọn ó tóbi bẹ̀m̀bẹ̀m̀bẹ̀ mú ni. Ìtí kan bàdẹ̀ tóbi olè lọ́njà. Ìbòrí had £100 million case tó sì wà nílùú yìí, ó fi confiscate owó yẹn. Maybe you don't know that. £100 million sterling, owó tó jí. I mean, how can you steal £100 million of these when your state tó lówó yẹn gangan develop it? The same Ìbòrí kọ́lá tó ń rí nísìn pẹ̀lú Tinubu ní Asoro. So ẹ máa tọ́ra yín pé it's about leadership. British government or the British Empire ran away from the same problem. So let me come, I just want to answer, these questions that came through our TikTok, which we appreciate the question. So let me continue with Bomokade. Okay, now, so there was a big problem. This same financial, I hope we material not too fast. Yeah, be by now here. These same financial and administrative challenges resulted in a discussion. Báwa náà ṣe ń sọ̀rọ̀ nísìnyí pé ká gba Yorùbá Nation kan nínú a lè gba Yorùbá Nation nu Yorùbá Nation kan la máa gbà ẹlòmíì lè ní Koiki lọ dá political party sílẹ̀. Knowing fully well pé number one níbo ló ti fẹ́ rí owó tó fi run a political party tó ń ṣe Nàìjíríà. We're talking, it runs into billions of naira. Púpọ̀ nù wọn nítorí máa ń ṣe ni pé wọ́n máa ń fi èèyàn tí wọ́n síbẹ̀ Wike make sure pé ó fi èèyàn tiẹ̀ sí Rivers State but Ganduje ò ráyè fi èèyàn tiẹ̀ síbẹ̀ because wọ́n nà pa ní Kano. Tó bá yẹ pé Ganduje fi èèyàn tiẹ̀ síbẹ̀ ní ṣòro pé gbogbo tó ń demolish ní Kano tí Kano State government yẹn ṣe, do you think he will be able to do it? He will not be able to do it. These are all the reasons why kó tó lọ wọ́n máa make sure pé ẹni tó lè jẹ́ aṣojú wọn ló máa jẹ́ kó jẹ́ governor bẹ̀ so that manipulation yẹn á lè máa continue. So when people are saying ẹ lọ jẹ́ kí àwọn representative yín bá yín sọ̀rọ̀, they are not going to speak on our behalf because as far as they're concerned, they are still working under the British colony. But in reverse, when they are independent, but in reality, intersign from 1960, Colonial operate say that has been destroyed and nobody can wind it back. And I'm going to play what Baba Akintoye said 5 years ago just to back what I'm saying right now. These same financial and administrative challenges resulted in discussion led by Lugard for the unification of the Lagos colony, the Southern Nigerian Protectorate, which is Ilẹ̀ Yorùbá, àti ọ̀dọ̀ àwọn Ilẹ̀ Igbo, and the Northern Protectorate. So what ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní discussion, báwo la ṣe máa ṣe? The disparity between the protectorate was to be corrected. Tó bá pè nǹkan ní disparities, what is the English dictionary for disparities? So let's quickly look at the English dictionary. When you hear the word disparity, one more time. Disparity. Again. Disparity. A difference in level of treatment, especially one that is seen as unfair. Economic disparities between different regions or country. There was already disparity between the Northern Protectorate and the Southern Protectorate. Kí ló ń pè? Disparity. When those that are asking on Google, it is a noticeable and unusual significant differences or dissimilarity. So lẹ́ni nísìn, èmi ń sọ Yorùbá, àwọn ń sọ Hausa, àwọn yẹn ń sọ Igbo, àwọn kan ń sọ oríṣiríṣi èdè, and you want us to live together. So now, Tinubu bá fẹ́ appoint èèyàn nísìn, only according to the constitution, ó gbọ́dọ̀ select ní gbogbo state kọ̀ọ̀kan. Kí lẹ rò pé ṣe ń ṣe yẹn? Because wọ́n wá ojú rere gbogbo state yẹn. As we speak right now, 22 péré ni Tinubu ti select according to tí òfin ní kó ṣe. Ó sì kù 11 state tó gbọ́dọ̀ mú. Àwọn state kọ̀ọ̀kan fún wọn ní méjì méjì. So ìyẹn ni wọ́n ṣe ń wò lọ wò bọ̀. Kí la máa fún ní Kánò? Ó já fún Ganduje. Torí pé Ganduje dúró tì mí nígbà tí mò ń káàkiri. Kódà gbogbo bí ṣe ń bú wọn torí pé ó bú wọn ní Ogun State nígbà tó ń campaign pẹ̀lú ẹ̀ náà ṣàgbà. Ó lọ fún olè El-Rufai ọmọlẹ́fọ̀ torí pé kí ni ó fẹ́ please wọn. Tó bá jẹ́ pé independent nation làwa jẹ́, ṣé a máa lọ mọ́mọ Igbo kó wá ṣe mínísítà wa ni? Ṣé a máa lọ mọ́mọ Hausa kó wá ṣe mínísítà lé wa lórí nígbà tó ọmọ Yorùbá ń bẹ níbẹ̀? But ọmọ Yorùbá ò rí yẹn, ń tán rí ni pé tìbó ti fún wa ní custom officer, ní custom for a very long time, ó ti fún wa ní inspector general of police. Okay, after 4 years kí ló máa ṣẹlẹ̀? Ṣé fi pé ẹni yẹn ṣì máa wà níbẹ̀ tí Hausa bá tún gbàjọba? Hausa náà máa lé dànù ní, Hausa náà tún gbé tiẹ̀ síbẹ̀. And this continue to go on and on and on and on. And in reality, all this doesn't work at all. So the unified colony and the protectorate of Nigeria began in the 1914. I think we need the 1914 amalgamation. We are now 1 hour 34 minutes. I expect to bring this program down at exactly 2 hours. Once again, thank you so much to those of you that are listening. If you have any question, you could throw it into the especially those of you on the TikTok, because you are new to our platform. So some of you in Koiki, Osakuro, hey, this, that, but you are not listening to the real conversation. You know, I want beer parlor talk. So in them, so the reality of the danger, lọ́jọ́ wájú fúnlẹ̀ Yorùbá. So gbogbo ìtẹ́ ń gbọ́ níta yẹn beer parlor conversation ni. Tẹ́ bá fẹ́ gbọ́ the real conversation, ẹ farabalẹ̀, ẹ gbọ́ nǹkan tí mo sọ, ẹ wá bi mí ní question, èmi á dá yín lóhùn. But kò ń ṣe question, ìwọ ló ti gbowó lọ, ìwọ ló ń fa ìgbowó ní problem tó ń bẹ ní Nàìjíríà. Ó ti wà kó tó bí bàbá mi, kò dẹ̀ lè lọ tá a bá kúrò. So that's the fact. So now that we've been able to conclude this part, what then happened? Lugard said, you know what? Let's just merge every one of you together. Like and this started creating fiction. Kí ló dé ń pè ní fiction? Àfi òbí amọ̀dé rí tọ́yọ̀ ọmọ mi kékeré kan. Àwọn kankan wà tíyàn bá ń filẹ̀ lọ́wọ́. Fiction. Adabi fùkẹ̀fùkẹ̀. So they kept everybody, we kind of migrate together. And we were living together, side by side. Ẹlòmíà fẹ́ ọmọ Hausa, ẹlòmíà fẹ́ ọmọ Igbo, ọmọ Igbo á fẹ́ ọmọ Yorùbá, ọmọ Yorùbá fẹ́ ọmọ Kanuri. Ẹlòmíà ní, bàbá mi, not lọ tí ń gbé for a very long time. In reality, bàbá ọba máa gbé nílẹ̀ Hausa. The reality is tó bá yẹ pé wọ̀kọ̀ gbogbo àpapọ̀ ni, tẹ́ bá fẹ́ gbé nílẹ̀ Hausa, option yìí nìyẹn. Now, let me give you the list of the countries that the British colonized, which was where we wanted to start before we go further. Tobali Makosile Lenkonkon. Afghanistan, 19th of August, 1919, called the Anglo-Afghan Treaty of 1919. Antigua and Barbados, Antigua Leeward Island, they got their independence on the 1st of November, 1981. Bahrain got their independence on the 15th of August 1971. Barbados got their independence on the 30th of November 1966. Belize, British Honduras, that is pre-independent name. Tibetan song orúkọ mi orúkọ tó ń jẹ́ nígbà pre-independent. What you change orúkọ wọn tẹ́lẹ̀ mi bá ní like Yoruba Nation tẹ́ ń pè yẹn láti support yín, it's okay. Gbogbo yẹn a lè change ẹ̀. Kò sórúkọ tá a lè pè l'Odùduwà kingdom, a lè pè ní Yoruba kingdom, but the most important thing is let's get the hell out of this system. Ń pè Nàìjíríà yẹn là kọ́kọ́. Orúkọ yẹn gbogbo yẹn orúkọ kan làwọn ilé náà ń jẹ́ tẹ́lẹ̀, wọ́n ti change orúkọ wọn. So tí bá ti ń dárúkọ ìlú yẹn tí mo tún dárúkọ míì, orúkọ tó ń jẹ́ ní pre-independent nìyẹn. Belside, British Honduras got their independence on the 21st of September 1981. Botswana, called Buchaland, got their independence on the 30th of September 1966. Brunei, 1st of January 1984. Cyprus, 16th of August 1960. Dominica, also called Dominica Windward Island, got their independence on the 3rd of November 1978. Egypt, 28th of February 1922. Eswatini, 6th of September 1968. Initially called the Swaziland, which was also its pre-independent name, it was renamed itself Eswatini early in 2018. Can you imagine? Orúkọ tó ń jẹ́ bọ̀ ní 1968, wọ́n change in 2018. So táwọn èèyàn bá ń sọ pé mo kíyà tó bí mi lọ́mọ ẹ̀ka lẹ́mà. Tí àwọn èèyàn bá ń sọ pé orúkọ tá à ń jẹ́ yẹn ni àṣẹ like Yoruba Nation yẹn. We can change all that at any time when we feel like. Fiji, they got their independence on the 10th of October 1970. Ghana, also orúkọ tó ń jẹ́ níjọ́ yẹn was Gold Coast. Togoland got absorbed into the Gold Coast in 1957. They got their independence on the 6th of March 1957. Grenada Windward Island got their independence on the 7th of February 1974. Guyana, also called the British Guyana, 26th of May 1966. You can see the power of the empire. Gbogbo àwọn olùtọ́ colonize òun ni mò ń kà fún ẹ, and they got their independence. Some got a good one, while some did not have a good one. The Ìtọ́ Fáwa was a very, very bad one, and that is why today there is still no peace in the land. So tẹ́ bá ètì àwọn tí wọ́n campaign for self-determination, wàhálà tí British dálẹ̀ nìyẹn. Iraq got their independence on the 3rd of October 1932. Even Iraq got their independence before us. Iraq got independent lọ́wọ́ Britain or the British Empire, because there's nothing called Britain then. They're known as the British Empire. Israel, mandatory Palestine, 14th of May 1948. The end of the British mandate Independence Day, Israel. Palestine declared independent from Israel on the 15th of November 1988. Jamaica, 6th of August 1962. Jordan, also known as Transjordan, 25th of May 1946. Kenya, 12th of December 1963. That's about 3 years after Nigeria. Kiribati, Gilbert and Ellis Island got their independence on the 12th of July 1979. Kuwait, they got their independence on the 19th of June 1961. Gbogbo àwọn ìlú yẹn ti develop pa. Àwọn Nigerians kankan gbé níbẹ̀ ní Kuwait yẹn. Ayé tó ń jẹ níbẹ̀ yẹn, àwọn ọmọ ìlú yẹn. Kò ń ṣe àwọn tó lọ ṣiṣẹ́ níbẹ̀ o. Ayé tó ń jẹ ní Kuwait. Torí àwọn náà lépo díẹ̀ lọ́wọ́. And they're doing it very well to sustain their economy and their country. Lesotho, also known as the Busutoland, got their independence on the 4th of October 1966. Libya, gbogbo ìtẹ̀ wà ní Libya, ọwọ́ Britain náà ni Empire, got their independence on the 24th of December 1951. But from 1943 títí dé 1959, Libya was under the control of Britain and France. But on the 24th of December 1951, Libya declared its independence and became a United Kingdom of Libya. Malawi, known as Nyasaland, got their independence on the 6th of July 1964. Malaya, 31st of August 1957. Maldives, 26th of July 1965. Malta, 21st of September 1964. Mauritius, 12th of March 1968. Myanmar, 4th of January 1948. Gained independence as Burma, renamed their country Myanmar in 1989, but still officially known by the United Kingdom government as Burma. Wọ́n ti accept pé orúkọ yẹn change. Nauru, 31st of January 1968, independent from the United Kingdom, Australia and New Zealand on the 31st of January 1968. Nigeria. There was never meant to be anything called Nigeria. It was meant to be an independent Southern Yoruba, Hausa, ìlú mẹ́ta ló yẹ kó jáde níbẹ̀ yẹn. Káwọn ìlú kọ̀ọ̀kan ṣe máa sọ nísìnyí pé àwọn náà fi wà lábẹ́ ilẹ̀ Yorùbá mọ́ ìyẹn àwọn other small ethnic minority. But unfortunately, the British gave us independence on the 1st of October 1960, took in the northern Cameroon. Oman, Sultanate of Muscat and Oman got their independence on the 20th of December 1970. Pakistan, known as the British India, got their independence on the 14th of August 1947. Partition of the India, Bangladesh gained independence from Pakistan on the 26th of March 1971. Qatar, British Qatari Protectorate, 3rd of September 1971. St. Lucia, Windward Island got their independence on the 22nd of February 1979. St. Kitts and Nevis and Anguilla Leeward Island got their independence on the 19th of September 1983. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Vincent Windward Island got their independence on the 27th of October 1979. These are all the countries that got their independence from the British Empire. Church list, 29th of June 1976. Sierra Leone, 27th of April 1961. Solomon Island, also known then as British Solomon Island, got their independence on the 7th of July 1978. Somaliland, known as the British Somaliland Protectorate, 26th of June 1960. The British Somali and the Protectorate gained independence on the 26th of June 1960, then united with the Trust Territory of Somalia on the 1st of July 1960 to form the Somalia Republic, but later broke away and unilaterally declared independence, which is internationally unrecognized. Southern Yemen, Protectorate of South Arabia, Federation of the South Arabia, 30th of November 1967, they merged with the Northern Yemen to form Yemen in 1990. Sri Lanka, also known then as Ceylon, got their independence on the 4th of February 1948. Gained independence as the Dominion of Ceylon, they renamed it as Sri Lanka in 1972. Sudan, 1st of January 1956, South Sudan gained independence from Sudan, but that is on the 9th of June. That is the youngest country in the world as of today. Tanganyika got their independence on the 9th of December 1961. Tanganyika became independent on the 9th of December 1961. It joined with Zanzibar on the 25th of April 1964 to now form what is known as Tanzania. The Bahamas got their independence on the 10th of July 1973. Bahamas Independent Act was 1973. Trinidad and Tobago, no, I mixed one. Gambia, the Gambia, then known as Gambia, 18th of February 1965. Tonga, 4th of June 1970. Trinidad and Tobago, 31st of August 1962. Independence Day, August 31st. Tuvalu, Gilbert and Ellis Island, 1st of October 1978. Uganda, 9th of October 1962. United Arab Emirates, gbogbo ẹ̀tẹ̀ wà ní UAE, ọwọ́ empire náà ni wọ́n ti gba freedom wọn. Known then as Trucial State. They only got their independence even almost 10 years after power ti gba independent tiwa, 2nd of December 1971. Gbogbo tí wọ́n pè ní UAE lénìí, they only got their independence in 1971. Àwa dẹ̀ gba tiwa ní 1960. But today, UAE does not even respect Nigerians anymore. United States, 13 American colonies, 4th of July 1776. The 4th of July Declaration of Independence from the Kingdom of Great Britain in 1776. British government recognized independence in 1783. So it took the British government to respect the independence of the United States, known as the 13 American colony. What declared in 1776, Britain recognized one until 1783. Vanuatu, New Hebrides, 30th of July 1980, independent from UK, United Kingdom and France in 1980. Zambia, known as the Northern Rhodesia, 24th of October 1964. Zanzibar, 10th of December 1963. Zanzibar became independent on the 10th of December 1963. It was joined and it is now called Tanzania. And the last country is Zimbabwe. As at then it was called the Southern Rhodesia, got their independence on the 18th of April 1980. The Southern Rhodesia declared independent from the United Kingdom on the 11th of November 1965 as Rhodesia, which was not internationally recognized. Rhodesia transitioned to majority rule as Zimbabwe Rhodesia on the 1st of June 1979 with a view to eventually international recognition, but instead returned to the British control under the Lancaster House Agreement, followed by the international recognized independence in the 1980 as Zimbabwe. So when we look back to all these countries, and somebody like Olóyè Dr. Sunday Igboho is now coming out láti sọ pé bí àwọn kan ṣe dìde níjọ́ náà lọ́hùn lòun náà ṣe dìde lénìí láti fi ọwọ́ kún bàbá wa lọ́wọ́ ìyẹn emeritus Professor Adébánjí Akíntóyè. But ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ọmọ Yorùbá ní ìjà tó lóyè ń jà, ìjà tí kò ń ṣe tiẹ̀ ni. Pé ìjà tó kàn ni. Ẹ wo gbogbo ìlú ta dárúkọ látẹ̀ǹkan. Ta bá ní ká lọ máa wo history gbogbo ìlú yẹn lẹ́yọ kọ̀ọ̀kan ní méjì mẹ́ta, a rí pé àwọn kan ló máa dìde níjọ́ náà lọ́hùn lásìkò kan nígbà kan láti béèrè pé nǹkan kan right. Gbogbo tí ẹ kó papọ̀ yìí kò work. Ìyẹn la ṣe ń bi ìjọba tèmi pé kí ni ó ń fà á tí à ń sọ nísìn pé ẹ má ẹ̀ka débi stage pé a máa wojú ara wa. It is not worth it. When the citizens fight, ìjà yẹn máa ń fa intí expect. And that is why everybody always talk about dialogue. Dialogue is the best option. Gbogbo táwọn rí tó ń lọ ní gbogbo African country lẹ́nu. The citizens are revolting. The citizens are not happy, whether it's a military coup or not. Some of them, the military took advantage. Why some? It is all about, we are tired of the system. They will revolt. So we are again saying to the government of the day, there is still room for negotiation, for the lifting of the embargo lórí Olóyè Dr. Sunday Adeyemo Igboho. Yoruba Nation is the Lord doing. Some of you have had all the list of the countries that came out from the British colony or the empire. It wasn't an easy task for them to let go. Ẹni bá múyàn lẹ́rú kò ń fẹ́ jẹ́ kéèyàn lọ. Ẹni bá múyàn lẹ́rú kò ń fẹ́ jẹ́ kí ẹrú ẹ̀ kó lọ. Our better off ká dá dúró gẹ́gẹ́ bí orílẹ̀-èdè tiwa. Mo kí gbogbo alẹ́ nǹkan sí pé it is a new month and the struggle and the fight, the campaign for Yoruba Nation continue. At 11:44 p.m., where we are now countdown to the end of the program tonight, we are just about 9 minutes. I want to remind us that there is no way anything can change and bring unity among these indigenous people that have been forced to live together. It does not matter how best they might try to protect it. It is too late at this junction to try to bring together something that is not going to work. And this is why some of us have said we should go. Let's listen to about a few minutes from the oracle himself. This was 5 years ago that Baba was speaking in probably a gathering. And this is what he said. What he said then is still relevant to what is happening.
And it is their duty to guide and govern it in ways that are suitable for the nature of that country. If you do not do that, you will find the country going to pieces in your hand. The architect is an artist who builds who designs a house and does not take cognizance of the important factors in the circumstance. We build a house that will collapse. What type of soil do you have? What type of material is available? What type of workmen do you have? What type of technology do you have to get things together? If you do not put all of that together as an architect, you will put together a house that will collapse. And so my summary of the weakness, the failings, the disastrous failings of leadership in our country is that our leaders have never really asked themselves, what kind of country do we have? And how do we put it together to achieve success? The result is that we have gone from the very highest of our, and it is to be wondered how much more a country can take in this handling that Nigeria has taken before it breaks up. So, I have seen this country succeed inauguration of their newly elected president in 1982. And I was to talk about the growing relationship between South Korea and Nigeria. And all I could say was of pride in my country. We were so far ahead of those people. All their rulers were there in the hall as I did in the Institute of International Relations and National Security as I delivered my lecture. And I was telling them, it is not only oil that we can sell to you, there is a lot we can teach you. For instance, we have built some of the best, most successful universities in the third world. We have built one of the most respected medical schools on earth. We have succeeded in developing our agricultural products and become one of the greatest producers in the world. Nigeria was the greatest producer of groundnuts in the world, the largest producer of palm oil in the world, it's the second largest producer of cocoa in the world. We have a lot to teach you. My country, Nigeria, has a lot to teach you. Today, South Korea is at least 1,000 years ahead of Nigeria. Nigerian leaders have succeeded in taking the wealth and the potentialities, the human material wealth and the potentialities of Nigeria, and produce one of the desperately poor countries on earth. That is what we have done as leaders of our country. And why have we come to this condition? It is because our leaders have never really asked themselves, what kind of country do we have? What are its capabilities and possibilities and potentialities? What are its weaknesses? How do we manage the weaknesses? How do we accentuate the strengths? We've never done that. People go into politics because, it is a profitable thing to be in politics. It's also, it gives you ability and some chance to show yourself and become a prominent citizen and make money and become a great man. That's why our leaders go into politics these days. I have been a very close young worker with a man who was determined to find out the direction that Nigeria.
I'm going to leave it that way. That is a man that sees the vision. That is the man that sees the day and told us Nigeria is just not going to work. But for those of you that stay Nigeria, like I said, we don't have to argue with you. We'll leave it like that. I'll be back again tomorrow as we continue the quest and the campaign. But one thing is, we are not the only one asking for the self-determination. There's so many countries around the world that are asking the same thing. And one of them, before we go, is this country.
Other countries were refused first. But we have to remember, and this is a really important point, that self-determination is an inalienable international right and a law as well. And other countries will recognise Scotland's democratic choice expressed at the ballot box. They will recognise that because that is the route that many other countries have taken in order to become independent. And just to make that point, that international law is very pragmatic on that point. So we should have confidence in that.
Well, we should have confidence as well, without any hesitation. Thank you so much, Comrade Plan B. Thank you so much, Alao Baba. Thank you to every single one of you. Ti Edarapọ̀ mọ́ wa ní the last segment of our program today, which is the late night. We'll be back again tomorrow with more educational program as we continue to remind many of you that the hero of our time, Dr. Chief Sunday Igboho, must have his embargo lifted. We also continue to say to the international community, our right to self-determination must be respected just as the Scottish and the countries around the world right have been respected. Nigeria is not going to work. It does not matter how much you put the effort to save it. It's the Titanic that has sunk and cannot come back up again. And on that note, my name is OLAMILEKAN. Thank you so much once again to every one of you that have joined and those that will be watching this as a repeated program. Mokiwa lomode, mokiwa lagbalagba, mokiwa larugbo, moki gbogbo bí tí ẹ ti láǹfààní àti gbọ́ ohùn yìí ní àṣálẹ́ yìí. Èní á máa jẹ́ ọjọ́ kejì, so we are still on the 1st of August 2023. I wanted to say that in Yoruba, but it seems that's almost off the head. Ọjọ́ kan nínú oṣù kẹjọ ní 2023. I think I tried a little bit. Mo kí gbogbo ẹ̀yin bàbá wa káàkiri gbogbo ibi tí ẹ bá ti ń gbóhùn wa. Mo kí gbogbo ẹ̀yin ọmọdé and the silent listeners as well. And most importantly, those that still believe that Nigeria will be great under anybody. Nigeria are not going to be unified. Nigeria was put together for a reason, and that reason is still there, whether we like it or not. One thing that can save us right now is for a roundtable discussion and let everybody decide if truly we still want to be together or not. If otherwise, the tension will continue to build, and one day, as they say, when the tension builds and builds and builds, it will eventually explode. As we are monitoring what is happening around West Africa, especially with the rallies, the protests, the coup, our question to those that are saying, it's not going to happen in Yoruba land, it's not going to happen close to us. Well, we're also monitoring that and we hope it's not going to happen. But just to remind you, we hope some of you will not wake up one day and find out that you might not be able to go from point A to B because people that are hungry and angry would have been on the street. So attend to support, everybody will be affected. Thank you so much. Good night.